What is good, everybody? Man, it's your boy Jay in the building. We is back to give another video, man. Now, before we get this video started, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys share this video. Woo! We got the Orange Blossom Classic, man. We have the game of the season. We calling it now. This has been the game of the season for the past 2 years now. Even though last year ain't go how we thought it would go, but we'll get to that. But we got FAMU versus Jackson State. This is the game that we all been waiting for since the offseason. Let's get to it. Let's go ahead and get right on to it, man. Now, let's get to Jackson State. I want to get to Jackson State first. Now, they did one hell of a job demoralizing South Carolina State last week. They came out with a point to prove, came out to show the world that we is still that. We is still the team to beat in the SWAC, and we ain't going nowhere no time soon. Shout out to Coach T.C. Taylor getting that team ready to play, and I know that he going to have them ready to play this week. I want to let y'all know something, though, Jackson State. This team y'all going up against, this team is not South Carolina State. This team is not offensively challenged, and this team is going to be, I think, they're going to be as explosive as you guys. And for what it's worth, right, Jackson State did a pretty good job on offense, a damn good job on offense, without their best explosive weapon on offense in Seven McGee. I think he's going to be a real big key in this offense because FAMU ain't seen him in action yet. So I don't think they know what Jackson State is coming with, but I think FAMU is going to be ready. Defensively, though, they did a good, decent job on defense. I will say that. They only give up 70 yards, less than 70 yards passing. Now, my only critique of this defense, if I can give one so far, is they got to clean up that Russian defense. They got to clean it up a little bit. And I know from what I've seen, and this is something that I really didn't see out of them the past 2 years, they were playing a 3-3-5, had some points in the game. And I know when you get into that formation, you're kind of daring them to run the ball. But the thing with South Carolina State is that they're not really much of a passing team at all, especially with Corey Fields. So, me personally, I wouldn't have been in no 3-3-5 against South Carolina State. If anything, I would have dared them to throw the ball. But in order to break that defense, you have to run them out of that defense. But South Carolina State did have some success running the ball against Jackson State. They do need to clean that up. And for what it's worth, it did take them 6 guys to get them over 130 yards, even though 5 of those guys were freshmen. Jackson State is not going up against an all-freshman backfield. You got Jenkins, who's a senior this year. You got 2 guys in the from transfers. You got Jaquez Yank, who's a former 4-star recruit from Nebraska, who's listed at 6'2", 225. Y'all seen his highlights? Monster. And you also got a guy in Calvin Dean who's a transfer from Florida Atlantic who's a speedster as well. So that backfield is absolutely loaded for FAMU. You know what? Let's get to FAMU. Let's get to them. This is FAMU's most important game of the year. And to think that they're not under pressure is an understatement. No, FAMU is definitely under pressure, especially for this reason. they're not only favored to win the SWAC, they have lost to Jackson State 3 straight times. And last year, for y'all to get beat like that the way y'all did, y'all should come in here in this game with a totally different mindset than however y'all came last year. Whatever y'all did last year, dog, that mindset on Sunday, it should be nothing. Y'all should see nothing but red. Your eyes should be y'all should be mad and angry that y'all had to deal with whatever y'all dealt with last year. Y'all didn't even score a touchdown. And y'all got 50 put on y'all. But you know what I think that Coach Simmons did this year? I think he counter-recruited for Jackson State. I think he matched whatever Jackson State did. Now, keep in mind, FAMU is absolutely loaded at the DB position, at the wide receiver position, and they have about 14 to 15 defensive linemen. So they're not going to have no problem rotating big bodies because they understand that Jackson State will do a no huddle. They will speed their offense up. So they have a bunch of big bodies that they can rotate in and out just in case. So, and that, dog, they have 26 DBs. They have 26. Matter of fact, let me just name you some of the guys that they have, not only coming back from last year, but the guys that came in this year. So for the guys that came in, of course, you got Morgan, who was their third leading tackler last year and their preseason all-conference performer. You also got Eric Smith. You also got Bowler, who's the younger brother of B.J. Bowler. And you also got Kamani King, who he didn't get a chance to play in this game last year because he wasn't really eligible to play. And keep in mind, they had a bunch of guys who were either hurt or ineligible to play against Jackson State last year. They're going to be available to play this year, so I think that's going to be key as well. But, yeah, so for those guys, right? Now, for the guys that are coming in, you got Jalen Glaze, who's a former 4-star recruit coming in from Minnesota. You got Deco Wilson, who's a transfer safety from Jacksonville State. You got Chase Lloyd, who's a transfer from Vanderbilt. Amari Lee, who's a former 4-star recruit transfer from Central Florida. You got TJ Huggins, who's a transfer from Tulane. That's just in the secondary. When we get to the D linemen, now, of course, you lose Kamari Stevens, who was a big piece for you last year. That doesn't mean you ain't got, guys who can take his place. Outside of the guys who are coming back, you got John Grave, who I think at one point he committed to Jackson State. Listen, if I got it wrong, please tell me I got it wrong. But you got John Graves, who I believe decommitted from Jackson State, and I think he last played at Southeastern Louisiana, coming in for FAMU. You got Sharif Sayer, who's also a transfer from Southeastern Louisiana. You got Dakar Edwards, transfer from Stony Brook. And you have Sylvester Mathis, who's a transfer from Temple. And that's just on the D-line. Now, at the wide receiver position, I think this offense is going to be more explosive than last year because last year, you got to think, they solely relied on Xavier Smith. He had 80-something catches with, I think, over 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. He led the SWAC in all 3 categories. And why I believe FAMU is going to be more dangerous now is because they have more weapons to spread it out to. Of course, they still got Shareed. They still have, They still have Mendigo, and they still have Oxenden. And that's just the guys returning. And at tight end, of course, you still have Young and you still have Prudy at the tight end spot. Now, for the guys coming in at the receiver spot, you got Chris Reed, who's a 3-star recruit from transfer from Utah. You got Marcus Riley, who was the leading receiver for Bethune-Cookman last year. You got Jamari Gasket, who, listen, I think he kind of reminds me of Xavier Smith. Speedster, quick, fast, hit the slot guy. He can also return punch. He's a transfer from Buffalo. Then you got Robert Lockhart. You got Robert Lockhart, who is a 4-star recruit from the state of Georgia, who at one point he was a Jackson State commit. Now, fair to mention, outside of the guys that are coming back on that old line, including some all-conference guys in Calvin and Ghost, you got a former 5-star recruit from LSU in Cordell Thomas, who I think he's been dealing with some injuries in his past career, and hopefully we'll get to see him fully healthy this year. Who knows? He may even start. Who knows? But this is his last year, and mind you, his family is LSU through and through. So for him to spend his last year at FAMU is pretty big. It's pretty big. Now you also got the transfer Ashton Grable from Jacksonville State. So this offensive line got some star power to it. So for FAMU, they got to realize something, that they're facing the demons of not only last year from getting beat down so bad, but also from FAMU just losing 3 games in a row, dating back to 2018. So the demolition job that Jackson State did against FAMU last year should be weighing on their minds, and they should be fired up. There should be no motivational speech that should get y'all ready. Just look at last year's game. Just look at how that turned out, and then y'all should be motivated then. But I do believe FAMU is going to come ready, especially with Jeremy Musa, preseason Offensive Player of the Year. Listen, he didn't play well at all last year. The pressure that Jackson State was applying last year was absolutely heavy. But FAMU should be ready. They should be more prepared. And listen, we are all here to get our popcorns ready for this game. We are all here for it. Now, I'm not going to choose a winner just yet. I don't know if I'm ready to choose a winner. I don't know. I don't know just yet, but I do expect some fireworks. I do expect for FAMU to respond from last year. And mind you, FAMU is riding a 9-game winning streak dating back to last season. They ended the season on a 9-game winning streak, so they are coming in here pretty fired up. They should be favored to win this game. And it's going to be very interesting, yo. And listen, it's going to be hot. So who knows if the heat may affect this game or not. But I'm ready for it. I'm absolutely ready for it. But before we get out of here, make sure, once again, you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you guys share this video, man. We out of here.